Bang! Neeves Knives. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Live on Neeves Knives. How's everybody doing? Is my mic on? How's everybody doing tonight? We do have a few topics we're going to talk about. I know I've been skipping some of the Wednesday lives. I'm probably going to wind up cutting that one out because now that I'm doing a lot more testing and the videos are getting more in depth, it just takes so much more effort on my end and it's very difficult to pull it off. And then I want to be able to plan, scheduled things that I want to talk about in the live. So that will make it much easier for that. I did not in this one because I got a video going on in the background that I've been busting my ass on, and it's going to be a good one. I hope you guys love it. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I plan on doing more similar to it. And probably the more I do like that, are just going to get better and better. And that's the one with the Civivi versus the Wii Cubit. So it's 14C against 20 CV, and titanium versus aluminum, so on and so on. But I know more and more when I start doing more tests like this, I'm gonna have like specific tests that I think will be they'll probably get better and better as we go on. Now, there's a little bit of controversy I want to bring up. Now, to be honest, there's a few things I want to talk about, but this one specific thing, I don't know everything about it, right? I've been watching the guy's videos to hear his side of the story. And some of you guys probably know what's going on, but it's a guy, what's his knife company? Survive Knives, I think is what it is. He has a YouTube channel. He posts videos. I don't know the guy, never spoke to him, don't know anything about him, never seen his knives, have no idea, nothing about him, right? I just seen him popping up on Instagram. People send me messages or sent me his videos on him complaining about MagnaCut. And not complaining about MagnaCut specifically, but well, maybe he was, I don't know. Complaining about MagnaCut coming from CPM and having a bunch of issues with them. Now, he's saying that it's from the company, but the issue is that he has not delivered knives, like from what I hear, a lot. And I seen Steve, he brought some receipts, quite a few. And if he's here, I'd love to have him on so he can explain it, because he's a lot better at it than I am, especially, because he knows more about it than I do. But is the guy ripping people off, right? That's the question. Is the guy fucking people over and just trying to cover it up with saying, oh, it's CPM's fault for sending me bad steel? Possibly. I don't know, but it tends to seem that way to some extent. And oh, I'm here. You can come on if you want to, but I'm happy to have you on. Just let me know. I'll send you a link. So as far as some of the things that he's saying is the issue, I believe that, the argument is that it's not happening before, it's happening after he treats it. I don't know if that's true, right? I don't know, but he said, I seen a video he did, and he showed some pictures of some emails. I read through a lot of them, and it looked like he was, trying to tell the company that it was happening before heat treatment and this and that. But I don't, it's hard to tell. I don't know, exactly what went back and forth. And I don't know the dates on what happened, like with some of the other shit, with people complaining, because Steve showed a whole bunch of receipts of motherfuckers not getting their knives and having a lot of issues ordering stuff and paying money and never getting anything. Send location. Okay, I'll send it to Instagram. But what's crazy about it, and the reason why I'm bringing it up, is because these are things in the community that we got to be careful about. We got to watch out for, because we've seen this before. Let's be clear. Like, some people think like the people are just starting drama. We've seen this before. We've seen companies rape and rob people, for 6 months, a year, and nobody talking about it because people are trying to be nice and not calling it out. And then what winds up happening? Fucking guy disappears. People are out, thousands of dollars. And, so it's good to call it out before you know, a lot of people wind up getting screwed over, you know, and I can't say that that's exactly what he's doing, but it does kind of seem that way. Um, he makes it seem like I said, like that it was CPM's fault, but let's see what. Damn it! All right, I'm sending it right now, Steve. Bang! It's sent. So we'll wait for Steve to get on because he can explain it so much better than I can. But just be careful with that shit, guys. Be careful with that company right now. I guess let's see what happens, you know, as far as the people that are on the fence right now about not knowing what's going on. At the very least, just wait it out. Let's see what happens. You'd hate to, you know, have money wrapped up and not get nothing. I did see a few comments of people saying they never got a bad product and stuff like that. But then you also see comments and you see people bitching about him deleting their comments and blocking them after not getting products. So that to me looked sketchy as shit. When I start seeing people say, "Hey, why are you blocking me? Why aren't you know, why are you avoiding my questions?" and blah blah blah. Because it's like, if you have nothing to worry about, you don't do that. I've never ever blocked anybody. And even with people that have a problem with me or bitch me, I've never, like, I'll block bots, but that doesn't count. You know, those are fucking bots. So it's, man, it's weird, man. Like when people do that shit, like it's kind of like what happened with not to bring him up, but kind of like with Leon. After he makes a video about me, he he blocks me. So then I can't even respond to him. And then when I did respond to him, like he wound up blocking me and then deleted my comments and then was deleting all the comments that people that were saying shit to him. So it's like, damn, man, like, why not allow a little bit of a Discord? I would have respected it so much more if you would have just allowed a little bit of a Discord. And trust me, I can understand how uncomfortable it would be to be wrong about something. And trust me, like, I fucked up in videos before. I've said the wrong shit, and I'll have 2,000 comments of people talking shit. And it sucks. It does suck, man, reading all that. And it kind of gets in your soul a little bit. So I get it, but you know, it's better to do that and allow the Discord, allow them to be upset than not. Uh-oh, device not connected. Try it one more time, Steve. It came in and then it went back away. But Survive Knives. That's the company. Somebody said, what company? Survive Knives. You can find them on YouTube. I watched, you know, just a few minutes ago. I don't know why it's not coming on, Steve. It's not connecting. Try doing it one more time. Excuse me. Before he comes in here, we do have some of them Kershaw's, the launch series on the NEEVEKNIVECO site. Badass USA made knife, but it is overpriced. So it's not that I even feel like it's overpriced. It's just they already have models that are similar that are much more affordable. But the problem is they're not as badass as this one. This one to me is the most badass one, but it's also the most expensive one for the materials. Arguably, you could say the 16, the launch 16 with the M4, and it doesn't make sense. How is that one the same amount as this one with 154 or CPM 154? I don't know. I don't know how they got the price, but it just is what it is. And we, like, to sell it on the site, we're not making even, you know, like what we normally make off of. Man, my chair is short. We're making less than we normally do off of, you know, for profit. So it's not like it's something that we can just, you know, like, oh, you know, a 30% discount code, you know, kind of like we did with the Bel Air. We did that, not that much, but we did like $10-15 off. We beat everybody's price on that because I felt in my heart like that. It's like, this thing's $150 knife. You know, other companies are selling for like 160, 165, and it's still worth that. I'm not saying it's not. It absolutely is. But, you know, it feels like $150 knife. So, but anyways, the knife that I do want to talk about, though, that is on the site right now, that's really badass, is the motherfucking, where the hell is it? The Jack Wolf. If you need me to, Steve, I can send you a different link. The Jack Wolf knives are up on the site. We have every single version. So lots of flavors. Like I keep saying, this is my favorite slip joint from them. If you're a slip joint guy, to me, this is the one. I like a lot of his slip joints. Don't get me wrong. I love a lot of his slip joints. This one to me is just like the ultimate. It has everything I want in a slip joint. The geometry, the utilitarianness, the pull, the pull. Look at how much the blade is out. I want the blade as much as possible. Let me see if Steve just messaged. Nope, let me check Instagram. He's probably setting up his thing or something. Hello, everyone who keeps saying hello to me. Too many names to text them all. Yeah, just say hey, all. That's what I do. I say hey, all. Hey, y'all. But anyways, you can get a full 4-finger grip on this. Super slicey. S90V. Very, very sharp. Extremely thin geometry. I mean, this thing is a laser beam. So, yeah, this is exactly like if you're going to have a slip joint, this is the one. That's absolutely the one. And that's on the Neevekniveco site, guys. I think I did put it in the description, I believe. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay. Trexer says, I'm coming in a little late. We just started. But I had a couple questions about the CRKT outburst. Yeah, no problem. That you showed us the other day. Is it for sure? No, I don't know. So I got that information because I went to the site and it said USA made. So I got it. I didn't talk. They didn't tell me it was. So I took my comment down. I took my comment down that I posted on the video. And if I was wrong about that, I apologize. But I read on I think it was on Blade HQ, and I thought on the CRKT site. Let me just look at something really quick while you guys are in here. I'm going to look at an email that they sent me. I don't think I had one from that one. I think that was the problem because I was trying to, hold on, let's see. Yeah, damn it. Yeah, oh, here it is. Okay, so designed by Alan Forsyth. I'll show you guys what I'm looking at really quick. Oh, you know what? Actually, this is an email. I don't know if I can. Let me just look really quick. Yeah, it doesn't say. So that's the problem. It doesn't say here. But when I went to another site, when I went to, I think it was Blade HQ, it said USA made. And then I thought it possibly said it on their actual site, but I don't know. But so I don't want to tell you 100%. I'll say this, man. If it is, holy shit, did they plug that price? Because that is, like I said, they switched it. Blade HQ switched it. They switched it to China. Okay, so I fucked up. I fucked up by trusting them. I listened to them. All right, so I'm on their site right now. Yeah, I don't see it. See, it doesn't say. That's the problem, man. It sucks when it's not like just overwhelmingly obvious. And I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. But either way, when I was saying I felt like the price was right, I thought it was made in China when I said that. I literally thought and I was thinking this is like Riyadh, like that's the way I felt. And I was like, and if I was going to pay Riyadh this, they would be more money than this, they'd probably be at least 50 to sometimes even $100 more than this price for this, and I'm thinking of this thing if they made it. And the quality's there. It's like they made it. I don't know what company made it. I have no idea. Could have been Best Tech. I don't fucking know. But they did a really good job. Damn good job. And it's a good looking knife, man. That's a damn good looking knife. I got it right here. Yeah, I think. What the hell? Oh no, I put it away. Yeah, dude, that's a damn good looking knife. Not sure how long I will make it. Jared, please test Tucson's new steel soon. What steel is it? Let us gangbangers know what you think of it. Yeah, I can do that because I do have lots of testing coming up. I just did a full edge retention test. Jared, what's up? My EDC is the DIVO mash. Hell yeah. The dango DIVO mash. How long does it usually take for a KUNWU to get to the States? 2 weeks. And so it depends. So anytime anything's coming from through the customs, there's always going to be a variation in timeline. It can be anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, pretty much. Because like if it gets held up in customs, sometimes that can happen for like days and days and days. But usually it's 2 weeks. That's what like the normal timeline is. Like, for example, like if I order for the site from like the dealer company from like We or something like that, and I put an order in to get knives on the site, that's how long it would take, is about 2 weeks. Neeves, have you ever tried dyeing G10 and how did it go? Yes, I have dyed G10 many times. You just want to make sure you use synthetic RIT dye, and then add a like a tablespoon of vinegar in the water. Boil the water, you know, put the dye in there, and then what you want to do is you want to be careful. I said that. Yeah, I did. I said boil the water. So you want to make sure, you want to be careful with how long you leave it. The difference between, because you most likely will have a color in your mind. If you just dip it in and dip it out, it's not going to take, you know, it's not going to turn the color unless if you want a baby color, right? Like a baby blue or something. So the longer you leave it in, the darker it's going to get. However, the difference between like light, medium, and dark in some cases can go fast, but then in other cases it takes forever. So, you know, just be careful with it, constantly keep checking it, and just know that what I like to do is take it out, rinse it off, and then look at it, because the ink, it almost seems like it settles in darker than it looks like when you first pull it out. Like when you pull it out and you're looking at it, rinse it off, it's sometimes like, I don't know, maybe it doesn't do this, maybe it's just like your perception, but it seems like it gets darker after you let it dry. So tell Kara she's a cowpoke. I want to hear you say it this time. Kara, you're a cowpoke. Don't worry about it. Nope. I don't know. You're gonna have to guess it out. Wait till you see what I'm doing to this pena. What are you doing? Yeah, you got it. She said, stop acting like Micah. Miranda says, got the KUNWU Padre. That's a good one. Benchmade, Hidden Canyon, and Jack Wolf Sharpshooter in pocket. Got the Civivi Churro and the Berg Blade Slim on the way this week. That's awesome. You know what? I got something coming pretty soon that's pretty special. I probably shouldn't speak about it, but I'm gonna. Pretty soon. I don't know how long it's gonna take, or you know, whatever, but I'm trying to get one of the Herman Slims. That's the one that I'm like really like psyched over right now. I've talked to some people in the community, and it seems the Dragonfly and the Slim seem to be the best from from people that have tried the most of them and tried, you know, many of them, blah blah blah. Right now my favorite's the Ishtar by far, but I have a feeling that the Slim could possibly take its place, and I'm hoping to get a DLC version. I'm hoping. Can you dye FRN the same way? Yes. However, it's so with FRN, you don't get it in jade. That's the problem. So you can get jade G10 in jade, right? So jade is just raw G10. That's all. It's just raw. So it's ready for dye. FRN is already dyed. So the problem is, like, say if you have an orange, you can turn it red. If you have a blue, you can turn it purple. If you have a yellow, you can turn it orange or red. But you can't take like blue and turn it orange, you know? So you have to work with whatever color it is. And, you know, like you can change it, but you're going to have to change it to the shade that's next in line for that color. Jared, would you or do you ever carry a small fixed blade? Yes. Yes. I sometimes carry a small fixed blade, like right in the front belt, sometimes on the back. I mean, I don't carry a fixed blade a lot, but if I am going to carry one, it's usually a small one. It's usually a small one, like a self-defense one or something like that, or just a fuck around knife. Jared, do you know if Herman would replace the COA if lost? I don't see why not. I mean, all you got to do is contact Herman himself. I don't think Polish Custom Knives will do that because it's not theirs. That's Herman's. So another thing though, they're switching to caged bearings. So you guys know they already use caged bearings, but it's loose caged bearings. So what that means is it's a cage and the bearings are in the cage, but if you pick the cage up, the bearings will fall out. They're switching to locked in balls. So that's awesome. I'm happy to see that. And I have spoken with them about doing a whole deployment, and they might have some stuff coming here pretty soon. Right now, I am carrying, I'll show you one brand new, and then I'll show you what mine looks like. So this is what it was brand new from Andar. I love this thing. It's got a little zip pull so you can pull all your cards out. And here's what mine looks like now after carrying it well over a year. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? Oh, I love it. This thing is dango gorgeous. So you got the pull, you just yink, and you pull all your cards out. I like it nice and slim. You can carry it in the front pocket. I carry it in the back, but you can see it. It's super slim, which is what I love about it. Good leather, good stitching, just good quality all the way around, and they're not that expensive. So that's from Andar. So here, Andar. They got some good shit. You know what I got recently? I got a badass backpack. Like, I almost thought about bringing it up here and showing you guys. It's a wax canvas one. It's my favorite backpack now. Like, I freaking love this thing. Like, it not only has style to it and looks good, but it feels tough. It feels durable. It feels like it's kind of like a nutsack. That sounded weird. You guys know the brand Nutsack. It's always difficult to talk about that brand. You guys know there's a brand called Nutsack that makes bags and backpacks. Well, it's kind of like theirs. So I got the set with the bag and the EDC pouch to go inside. It's so good, man. I can't wait to show you guys this one. I'm going to do a full video on it. Jared, I'm polishing the Sagaya on the Thai Pena Zulu. Hell yeah. You're going to mirror polish it? 14C28N or 135. What's 135? Or N690, pick one. 14C. I don't know what 135 is. Oh, S35. Oh, I'm going to go. So it should be S35 in that case. Now, I like 14C more than S35, to be honest. So I personally pick 14C. Most people should pick S35VN. And I say that because the edge retention is going to be better. The corrosion resistance is not better, but the edge retention is better. That's basically all it's got. It's got edge retention better. 14C, however, takes a far, far better edge, and it takes a far better fine edge, and it does far better with super thin geometry. So that's why I would take it. I'll tell you what, man, the cut test I recently did on 14C, this shit kicked ass. Like, kicked ass. It was the best numbers I've ever seen from 14C. However, the reason why, though, is because of the geometry. So the thin, like I always say, 14C was made for super thin geometry. So having that with a good edge angle and good edge and, properly burr removed and all that stuff, it went very well, like super good. Like, people that say, like, and I know, like, obviously it's not going to compare to a higher edge retention steel, but it's fucking cut a lot, man. Put a polish on my Nitro V Vision FG, and that some bitch is screaming sharp. Hairs jumping off my arm before the blade even touched. Yeah, that's the way Nitro V is. Nitro V 14C, you can kind of put them in the same bucket as far as the way they take edges. And what's really cool about them is it's so easy to sharpen. it's like unbelievably easy and unbelievably easy to deburr. So like when you, because the burr is a huge factor, and especially if you can get it with thin geometry. Thin geometry is gonna deburr probably a little bit better. I guess that's debatable, but the point is though is that 14C, the burr, I've rarely, I don't even know if I've ever even seen 14C not have a good burr removal. Like it's like once you get to the point of removing the burr, pops right off. It just seems very easy to make a fine, because like I keep saying, you know, he does good with thin geometry, and you know the tip of an apex is very thin, so it just seems like, you know, once you fatigued it, as long as you do the right thing, like obviously you can fuck it up if you don't do the right process, but as long as you do the right process, that sucker will come out really, really good. Is it better than Dora the Explorer backpack? Yes, it is. You flashed your ID. I did not flash my ID. Ray did a short on the mini version that I'm pretty hyped on. Wanted to hear his thoughts. Man, it's not, I don't know why it's not connecting, Steve. If you want to, leave me a comment on Instagram and I'll read it. I can't, for some reason, you keep popping in and it says device not connected. You want me to send you a new link? Maybe I should try that. No, because you're obviously working. It's obviously working. Steve keeps trying to come in, but it's like it's not. Maybe his internet's down or something, or not powered up. Jared is a proud lover of nutsack. You heard it here, folks. I don't own a nutsack. Well, I have a nutsack, but I don't. My brother is the one who showed me nutsack. He actually has it, and it's really nice. They do make good shit. I will give them that. It is a very nice stuff. Very expensive, but very nice. This one is far, far more affordable and is very similar. Got a Hazard 4 camera back. Best I've ever had. It's cake. I'm selling my first knife on Blade Binge. Any suggestions? Is getting more attention on it. Knife is a Herman Ishtar DLC blade. No shit. You're selling a Herman Ishtar with a DLC blade on Blade Binge? Hell yeah. You guys heard that. That's badass. That's some good shit. How do you people names in a little gray box? What? How do you put people's names in a little gray box like people do? What do you mean? Like I just did right here with you? I don't know what you mean. How do you put people's names in a little gray box like people do? I don't know. Hey, what's up, Brian? Got my thumb stud quiet carry drift today. Crazy how much better it is than the original thumb hole version. Yeah, dude. Yeah, they do also. They have good thumb studs, so I like that, and I think that a lot of companies fuck that up. Like they'll have like everything perfect, but then the thumb stud is slippery or just shitty or something, and it's like, man, if this thumb stud was just fucking better, this thing would be badass. You know, it's kind of like, even, and I hate to say it because I love Chris Reeves knives, but Chris Reeves knives are badass, but when you replace that thumb stud, oh my God, does it change that thing for the better. I love just replacing the thumb stud. Pop that sucker out, pop a new one in. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm here. Your brother's nutsack is nice. I always walk in at the wrong time. Sharpened my first knife yesterday. Got the Pro like you recommended. Did it along to the Ganzo video. Super helpful. Nice. Hell yeah. Very cool. Yeah, and you know, I do have, by the way, I don't know if you've seen it, but I have a tips and tricks for that system. So you can find it, and it's basically just like pro tips for using a fixed angle knife sharpening system. And I'm using the Pro in that video, and I go through a lot of details that will massively help you with knife sharpening. Watch that video. That one's important. You know, with the sharpening videos, you guys want to make sure you kind of watch the newer stuff, you know, the stuff that I've made in the past year and a half. And I say that because, one, my information and everything's gotten better, but my delivery on videos has gotten better. The way I explain things, just everything. Is Benchmade doing MagnaCut yet? I don't know. Did they use MagnaCut yet? You guys see Spyderco's dropping a new Slish buoy. I think it's Knife Joy exclusive. They're doing another Slish Bowie run, M390 and blue titanium. The only thing that sucks is that, and I don't mean the CTS XHP, that does suck, but the finish. One of the things that everybody loved about that knife was the blade finish. It was like a mirrored stonewash. The stonewash basically it gets tumbled for so long that it basically becomes like a mirror with like speckles on it. It looks really good. Same finish that the Techno 2 has. It almost looks wet. Like it looks really good. Any tips for a wrinkled nutsack? Use an iron. Try it. Let me know how it goes, though. Yeah, it only shows up for your name to let you know someone mentioned you. Oh, that's what he's talking about? Oh, yeah, if you want to do that, just write @ symbol and then somebody's name, and then it'll pop their thing. It'll glow for them. I'm planning my first giveaway. Any suggestions? You're planning your first giveaway on YouTube? Just, I guess, here he is.
Got it.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So suggestions for the giveaway, just make sure you get a random comment picker or something like that, or be prepared for people to debate you and fight you on who won, because their computer or monitor will say a different thing than yours, and it'll be crazy how many pictures you will get saying that I won, because whoever is basically like, if I tell you to pick a random number and then 3 people pick the right number but at different times, and I have to pick the quickest one, on their computer it'll say somebody else won. So you have to go off of what's on your computer. Anyway, Steve, what's going on? Looking good.
What'd you say? Well, I got my Arctic looking on. I'm outside working, and it's fucking cold.
What's the weather there?
I mean, I'm from Florida, dude, so it's like 40 degrees out, and I'm dying.
Yeah,
I'm not from Chicago.
Yeah, it's fucking brutal here right now.
You guys, it's like reverse hell in Chicago.
Chris, hey brother, thank you, man. 10 bones. Jared, thank you for answering me about the sharpening systems. Can't wait for the video comparison video. Yeah, that's coming really soon too. I got the best knife sharpener, fixed angle knife sharpening video coming. So break this down exactly what happened, because I seen his videos today, him posting a bunch of, I don't know if you've seen it, but it was like the emails going back and forth with the company.
Yeah.
I just don't know how fucking, how, because obviously you can go back and forth with emails with the company, saying that there was issues with something, but that doesn't really prove anything,
You can also cherry pick which ones you want to see. Which ones you want people to see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're not really showing anything there, because you can cherry pick it, and who knows what information was credible. You're using pictures to show. You're not saying that like I sent it to them and then the company responded back and said, "Oh yes, it was bad."
Yeah.
So you don't have that.
Yeah, well, the reason I posted that the Better Business Bureau thing on Instagram today, because I wanted people to understand that this guy has a patent. That's just from last year.
That's crazy.
That's just last year. He's been doing business since 2013. And that's just the people that reported to the Better Business Bureau. That's it. That's not like
think about
exactly. So
always more that don't.
There's a ton more. There's probably 100 people for every one of those comments that didn't go on the Better Business Bureau.
And there was a lot in that set, man. That was crazy how many people.
There was like 40 of them. And that was just those were 2023. Most of those. Those were last year.
When you were scrolling, I was like, how many fucking people is this gonna? I thought the song was gonna end,
There was 4 pages. There was 4 pages of it. I don't think my video showed it all, actually. I think it cut out.
So explain to them exactly what you're talking about, because the better.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
So Survive Knives. This got brought up to me a few weeks ago, or maybe a little longer than that, when I had a potential customer hit me up and be like, "Hey, I see you're using Magna Cut. Why are you using that steel when it's got holes in it or voids in it?" And I'm like, "Fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "Guy at Survive Knives is having all these issues. You really should do your research better before you start using that steel." And I'm like, "Okay, so let me go." I go to his page. And Jared, you're probably one of the only people that can relate to this. When you are around bad people a lot, you get a knack for feeling them, like you can smell them. Yep. So within 5 minutes of his video, I'm like, oh, this guy's a fucking snake oil salesman. That's who this motherfucker is. So I start watching all his videos. I went back and watched his whole catalog. I was out in front of that grinder for 8 hours, so I just turned this thing on and had to listen to this idiot for fucking 5 hours. So what he was claiming, his big claim is he's got 3 issues. So he had a batch of knives, something like 700 knives, that had issues with it. And not all of them, 10 to 20%. That's his number. I've seen 10 to 20%. He'll tell people one or the other. So he had 3 issues. One of them is he said there was warping. 2, there was decarburization. And 3, there were these voids. And all of these issues are solely the fault of Niagara Specialty Metals and Crucible, who makes this thing.
What are voids?
So the voids he's talking about is sometimes you don't really see voids like ever in steels, especially not in PM steels. But what he's talking about, and oddly enough, his go perpendicular, but what he's talking about is like a literal, like what looks like a divot taken out. Like if you scooped a chunk of metal out, where there was like a gap or air or something, the steel didn't get homogenized when they were rolling it out or pouring it or whatever, or PM steel when they were atomizing it, and it created a void. With the PM process, that's like near impossible, right? Not impossible, but near impossible. And you don't even see it really because of modern like steel practices, you don't really ever see that anymore. So he claims it's on 20% of that one batch. Now, there's a lot of stuff. I don't even want to know how to get into it, but that's the basics. So it was the voids, the decarburization, and the warping. All 3 of which are manufacturing on his end issues. So he talks about excessive warping. He had all those knives sent in to Peter's heat treats. A lot of people know about Peter's heat treat. They're one of the most well-respected heat treaters in the country, if not the most. They've been around a long time, and they do a great job most of the time. I've seen some wild shit. Even in his, you can even see in his videos where they were straightening, and you can see those blow torch marks.
Okay.
I've seen guys have knives go to Peter's and come back, and that's how they'll straighten the knife sometimes. They'll blue back them is what they call it. They'll blow torch the spine or a section to soften it up and then straighten it out in a vise, which is pretty fucking barbaric, but okay. Like, yeah, especially because if any of that residual heat gets into the edge of the knife, it's gonna blow the temper.
Right.
So on whatever, depending on what Rocco hardness you get. So the issues that he's talking about are completely heat treat related. Guy, if you notice, has this habit of what he'll do is he'll show you the problem. I had warping, I had decarburization, I had voids, but won't tell you how it happened. It's just Crucible's fault.
Have you ever had any of these issues from
No.
No,
never, not once.
Show up.
Never,
from
never, not once.
You think?
Never. I've never seen that on any steel.
Okay.
Never on a PM steel. Never on a regular ingot steel. I've never seen. Now the reason, the 2 of them, decarburization and warping, those happen during heat treat, regardless.
Okay.
Those are things that happen. Those aren't a steel issue. Those are a heat treat issue. Warping is just like it sounds. Warping, what happens is steels have, when you're austenitizing them, when you're heating them up to make them hard, and then you quench them, you're inducing a tremendous amount of stress into the steel. And for a number of reasons, it will warp. It could warp one way or the other. It could bacon. One of the things that, especially with CPM steels, especially with stainless steels, they warp particularly bad. One of the things you have to watch out for is what's called mill scale. You saw him mention that. Bob mentioned that in the email today.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, those emails are from 2022. So mill scale is basically it's decarburized steel that is all around the steel, that when it comes from the factory. So they take it, they basically, most CPM steels are bead blasted. They'll bead blast it and then out it goes. So when you, especially CPM steels, when you buy CPM steels, they're about 15 to 20 thou oversized. sometimes more, depending on how thick the steel is, because they're expecting you to remove X amount of decarb, a mill scale, and then when you heat treat, you're going to remove some of decarb as well, so you can land on whatever thickness you want. Matter of fact, if anybody wants to go on to like New Jersey Knife Bearing, when you go buy steel from them, you will choose finished thickness, and based on the finished thickness that you want, they will give you the size, the oversized bar above it.
Okay, Chad, this is Steve Kalari from Steve Kalari Customs. You might have seen his knife on my channel. He makes some beautiful, beautiful knives. Definitely check him out. So that's who this guy is, and we are talking about Survive knives right now. There's been a bunch of controversy going on with them, and you know, just talking about it, trying to bring it to some light, because if it is some skeegy bullshit, then it does need to be brought to light, and people need to know before they spend their money and get robbed, like the 40 plus people did on, you know, on Better Business Bureau.
And the reason I posted that, there was a time, you can go check it out, there was a time from 2013 when he started to 2018 that like no knives left that factory. So how Guy does his business model, and again, I'm setting this up because I want people, you have to understand this guy's history. This isn't like him making this big deal about MagnaCut is because there's hundreds and hundreds of people that have not gotten that knife, and he's blaming it that they're not getting their knives because of the MagnaCut. Okay. And if you go, I encourage everyone to go to his channel and watch his videos, and it's always someone else's fault. At this point, I'm convinced Guy is a transgendered female because he's like a woman. Nothing is ever his fucking fault. It's everyone else's. He does nothing wrong. Yeah. He sits there and he'll go on and on about how high his standards are, but his standards for actually delivering product that people paid him for doesn't exist. All the knives he sells are prepaid in full.
That's what's crazy about all this, is that people are paying them and then not getting the knife, and they're not paying half down. They're paying the whole fucking thing.
I want people to understand that this dude takes money all prepaid up front. Every bit of it is prepaid up front. That's the issue with this. He takes the money en masse, right, and then doesn't deliver on these drops. And he has every excuse in the book. We've seen it for 10 fucking years, 11 years almost at this point. He's been doing this. I went back and was looking at this. There's whole Blade Forum things about getting his company on Blade Forum because of how many people. The state attorney, the attorney general of Pennsylvania just called that guy to go to him because he's setting up a meeting because of how many complaints people are calling him with that they're not getting their products and that business is scamming people. So I want people to understand this. He's got a long history of doing this stuff. This is why the MagnaCut. So what's happened is I think he's at the end of his rope. And if you watch his videos on 3 or 4 separate occasions, he says, he'll say all the time, I never wanted to be a manufacturing company. I never wanted to be a manufacturer. If anybody's got deep pockets and wants to buy this operation, you can buy all this from him, because he's trying to get out from under it and then pass that book of business that he owes all those people to somebody else is what he's trying to do. So as far as, like I said, decarb or warping, we're talking about warping. When you don't remove enough of the mill scale that is on that steel, so that steel is partially has decarburized parts in it. It all can be decarburized. So it acts. Tim Reed made a good example. You know when you get a scab on your arm or your leg and the skin looks pulled and tight?
Yep.
That's exactly what decarb acts like. So when you then heat treat that and you introduce all that stress into the steel when you quench it, all those random decarb parts will pull it in different directions and you'll get warped. Okay? Nice. So that's necessary. If you don't remove it now, matter of fact, again, he tells on himself, if you go to Peter's website and you go look at their options and stuff, they specifically talk about 2 steels, ABL and MagnaCut. And MagnaCut is specifically mentioned that it has to have all mill scale removed and to be sent in for them to guarantee straightness or because of high probability of warping, right? He sent me that as if I hadn't already read it, as a look, we learned this from my batch of steel. He claims that the reason the warping was so extreme and the decarb happened was because Crucible hasn't their data that they published on the steel was bad. But if you go and look at Crucible's data, nowhere does it speak about, no steel's going to talk about decarbing or excessive decarb, because it's all related to the heat treat. This is why when you see guys like me, they'll be heat treating stuff, they put it in that high temp foil, or we'll use like a high temp clay, That's to provide a barrier against the oxygen and the heat. So that's what decarb is, when you subject hardenable steel, martensitic steel, to high temperatures, usually around 1250, 1300, somewhere in that range. When it starts to become non-magnetic, the carbon will actually diffuse out of the steel into the atmosphere with hydrogen. And you get a layer of steel. Like, you ever seen somebody forging and they're pressing on the press? You see all that stuff fall off?
Yes.
That's all decarb steel, because it's reacting with the atmosphere. This is why Damascus blades are so expensive, because a guy could take 10 pounds of metal and he'll end up with about 6 by the end of the time he's done forging, because of all that decarb that keeps falling off every time he reheats it. So
you know what else is kind of weird? You know what seems logical? I ask you, do you have any of the Paduk wood? Paddock wood?
Yeah, I can get Paduk, of course.
So what's really crazy is, because of all this stuff happening right now, right? But the emails, you know, with him talking, you know, to the companies, everything, that was like a couple of years ago, right?
Yes. This has been going on for years.
So if that happened then, like, let's say that's true, right? That was fucking forever ago. What's going on now? Like, you know, like, I mean, I don't know how long this has been going on for, as far as like how long people have been waiting for their products, but it can't. I would hope years. We're not talking that fucking long. Are we talking that long?
We're talking years. He routinely, if you go pause my Instagram video, you'll see people that have waited 2 years. You know Alchemy 1, Clint?
Yeah.
Clint was waiting 3 years for a knife. Go look at blade forms. People routinely wait 1, 2, 3 years for a knife, because it's always production problems, because his standards are so high. And this guy, you know, the grinder fucked him over, and then this person fucked him over, and then this guy fucked him over. And keep in mind, the dude is making fixed blades. I want you to understand, he's making fixed blades. He loves to talk about how tight his there are no tolerances on a fixed blade. Okay? It's a piece of steel. He goes to the end. He bought a Blanchard grinder, which is basically like, it's like a flattening device. It's a big disc, and it like goes like this kind of, and it's really good for flattening parts. You do not need a blade. He likes to talk about how he takes his steel, like it's like within like 1/10 of a thousandth of an inch. Let's put that in perspective.
Yeah.
1/10. He spends time taking blades to 1/10 of a thousandth of an inch. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I promise you, not a single fixed blade or chef knife I sell is even close to that. Okay, and it's plenty straight enough. How flat your blades are is not obviously you don't want them bent, but if you want them straight and flat. I have a granite machinist block out there. It lays flat. It lays flat. I can't get a 5/1000th of an inch shim under it. It's totally flat. That's all I need, right? My scales are going to meet up.
Not a flat surface.
Yeah. I'm going to flatten it on a disc sander. It's going to be flat. Everything lines up. Period. Taking it to he loves to get pedantic about stupid shit that doesn't make any difference, and he tries to market it to people like, look at how flat my blades are. Like the other day, he had a video about his sandblasting and how he's got these $20,000 sandblasting machines that filter out all the damaged particles, and that's why his sandblasting finish is so fucking even, as if the sandblasting finish matters at all. How many people have you ever got a production knife that sandblasted that didn't look even?
Never.
I can go buy a $200 blasting cabinet at fucking Harbor Freight and blast a knife, and it's going to look the same. It's not going to look it, but he gets like, so I personally think he's just buying this equipment so he can sell the company for more is where I think he's headed. So this whole the warping issue, the warping can happen for a number of reasons. It's just part of the process. Magna Cut might be a tidbit more. It's like ABL. It's a tidbit more susceptible to warp than some other ones, but that's the nature. Me personally, I think it has something to do with the chromium in solution of a steel. It makes steels tend to bow more or not. But like most things, the longer and the thinner a blade is, the more chance you have to warp. Obviously, right? If it's short, it's not going to warp as much. I do kitchen knives. I use less than 100,000 stock thickness. Every single knife I make warps. Every single one. Right. I want people to understand this. Every single knife. I've been making knives like 15 months now. I've made over 300 knives at this point. Every single one warps. Yeah. I straighten them. That's what happens. I have a carbide.
It can't
right? Yeah, it's just part of
long and thin.
Yeah, long and thin. So but my point is, it's part of the process. Like you do a lot of the reasons we see really baby shit soft heat treats is because they use very gentle quenching. Like they don't use very high pressure quenching. So you get less working. So the harder you quench the steel, the better hardness and the less, austenite, a bunch of shit's gonna happen. But the more stress involved, the more you can work it. So most of these companies use really low austenizing temperatures, really low stress stuff. You get low hardness steel with high austenite, so you get gummy burrs, but the blades don't bend and they don't warp. And because warping takes time to hammer out. Right. So that's his whole, he expects these steels to be like pin flat basically from the factory. And his definition is if there's warp, now he could take it out, but it's not economically, it doesn't make sense financially for him to spend an hour on a blade and straighten it out. Fuck your customers. Fuck them. They can never get a fucking knife, but it doesn't make dollars and cents to him. He's not going to stand there for an hour straightening a blade for you. His standards are super fucking high, but he doesn't give a fuck about you. Yeah, because he's not going to stand there and fucking hammer out these blades and flatten them. So
yeah, it's difficult to say your standards are high and then have a long list like that. Like, you can't have, that doesn't make sense. Like you can't say that, and that you can say your standards are super high, but then your customer service, your sales, and your production is absolute fucking dog shit.
You see what you know what I mean? One of the things that, and somebody said to me that the other day was like, he just sounds like a perfectionist. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like, I'm a perfectionist. Jared's a perfectionist. Jared, do you ever think anything you do is perfect?
Never. No.
Fuck, man. That right? Listen to Guy. He'll tell you all his knives are fucking perfect. They're the best. He's not a perfectionist. He's a fucking narcissist is what he is. Yeah, he thinks everything he does
about anything is, you want to be careful with people that say it, because everybody's always trying to get better. You're always trying to perfect your thing. But when you're an actual perfectionist, you're so picky that you pick out the shit that don't, as you could say, that don't matter. But yeah, that's
But you don't sit there and fucking not put videos out because you didn't edit them exactly the way you wanted, did you?
No, they go.
No. Yeah. You go, I'm gonna do better next time, right? Because you're like, I need to make this perfect. Yeah. You don't just sit there and be like, well, scrap that fucking video. Then 2 years later you put out one video, right? Because then you're like, yeah, here's my review of 2 years ago knife, because I couldn't get the fucking editing, or I couldn't get the lighting, or I couldn't get the B-reel just right.
Right. James Brock, thank you for becoming a member. So, Steve, what do you got? What have you been working on? What do you got delivering or going up right now? You got a lot of shit going on, don't you?
I got a bunch of shit. Yeah, I'm like simultaneously like working like 40 fucking knives. I'm finishing up right now the 22-piece order for Blade Binge that I'm going to go hand off to him on Monday.
And that's NAFSALE, guys. They switched their name, by the way, just so you
know. Formerly NAFSALE. It's Blade Binge. Because he's going to be taking some of those to Blade Show, Texas.
Nice.
And then the rest, I guess, that we put up on the site. And I've been working. I got a 20-piece order headed to USA Made Blade in the next couple weeks. So I'm working that. And then I got some customs and stuff, obviously, in between. And I got a bunch of stuff.
And those are just maker's choice, the ones you're going to USA Made Blade?
Yeah. Witty's the shit. Witty's just like, make whatever you think will sell. And I'm like, done.
Fuck yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love Witty.
No, that's really cool that you got that too, because that's a huge thing, man. That's a huge come up, when you can get into a dealer like that, because that's what's awesome is when, like we can talk about your products and people have a place to go and get them. That's awesome.
Working with USA Made Blade was like a dream. He was the only guy ever, because I've known Witty for years from online and hanging out with Blade Show.
Right.
And like he was the only person I was like, oh, I'd love to see if one day I could get my stuff in there. And then he actually approached me about it. He was like sick that weekend, which I was stoked. So yeah, getting vendors. I'm trying to get 3 more vendors by the end of this year. That's part of my goals list. Because I'm trying to, well, like everybody does, I'm trying to keep my reliance on Instagram or online to a minimum, because we know how they like to fucking cut people off. So my goal is to have knives in as many retail locations as I can. Well, so I don't have to worry about it
on the NEEVEKNIVECO site, man. I want to have as many as possible. I want to ask you something, because I never seen it. You did a video, you did a cut test. I think it was crew wear. I don't know why I can't see the fucking end of it. I don't know if it got cut off or what, but I still don't know what happened with that. With the cut.
The one I did on Instagram?
Yeah. Like
there was a second video.
Cut off, and then I can't see the results or what happened.
There was a second video.
I know I can't find it.
Oh, yeah. So what happened? Let me. So I ran out of cardboard. It was an impromptu thing I did. I had a moving box sitting there, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's just do this. Let me see." And I figured if I cut, I got the number. It was still like cutting paper, and it was at like I think 262 feet.
Okay.
On a 1-inch section, and it was still slicing paper, no problem.
Right.
So I went back and looked at the crewwear I did years ago. The other crewwear from Spyderco that I did years ago, and that test was done at like 268.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was I told people I could comfortably say that I could get at least another 100 feet out of that, which easily before it would have stopped cutting paper. So call it like 368, 370. I could have gotten out of that, and that's on a 1-inch section. It was a 3-inch blade. So
right. Yeah, I know with some of my cut tests, and I know there's just variables, right? But some of my cut tests, you know, it seems like some of my numbers, like I just recently did one. I'm not going to say the number because the video is going to be going up here tomorrow or the next day. But my numbers feel like they're a little bit high sometimes, you know, for the steel. In some cases, not always, you know, a lot of times they're like pretty much on par with other people. But Transparent Knives made a good point. He talked about like, you know, like say like Outpost 76 when he sharpens them all the exact same, and then he also does the same amount of passes with burr removal or with stropping and things like that. And I tend to do it whatever feels comfortable, you know, for me, however the steel feels. And then obviously, you know, different hands, different geometry, different cardboard, maybe even the different angle you're going in the cardboard, right? Like you always make it clear, and I'm going to start doing that too, that you're going against the grain.
Yeah, I just picked against I just picked it so everything was like comparable.
Right.
I was like, I'm going against this way every time, so everybody knows. Like, because I started cutting the first couple tests, and guys were like, "Well, how do you know that the layer on the inside might cause extra layer?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll do them all the same direction. Does that make everybody happy?" They get all fucking pedantic on me.
Variables. There's always going to be variables. You can't get away from that. So it's just, you know, it's a good way to just get some data, right? If you can get a lot of them.
Well, the thing that I never understood that people got hung up on is like it's not so, like it's you control when you do like a test like that. Even the scientific method, you control the variables that you want to control. So the whole point of doing these cut tests and why they're valid and legitimate is because this is how it would act in the real world. Like I'm giving you, or you're giving someone, like here's me sharpening it, and like if I put like this is why the catcher testing I have a problem with it because it's like a fixed load like this, right? It does the same motion. That's not realistic. That's not like how you or I cut. So when you sit there, and, you know, you might sometimes you put more pressure, sometimes you put less pressure, sometimes. So it's those variables are a good thing, is the way I look at it. It's more applicable to the end user.
Yeah, what I didn't like about the catcher test was because what was it? You were just talking about Clint. He was showing that, and I think you showed it too in some of your videos. They didn't even do a proper burr removal. It didn't seem. So,
No.
Like, to me, that just defeats the whole fucking test. Because it's like so important to how how stable your apex is going to be, you know, when cutting. So like if that wasn't removed correctly, what's up, baby?
I gotta say it.
Okay.
Get closer.
Just go ahead. They can hear you. Trust me.
Okay. The problem with every single cut test on the internet, even yours, is that if you were gonna run a proper test for real, you would have to have a hypothesis based on statistics, numbers, something measurable, a unit of measurement. And most of the time, you guys are like, which one is better? That's not a variable, or I'm sorry, that's not an actual measurable thing. You have to break
the measurable thing is feet cut. The measurable thing is numbers of feet cut.
The measurable thing is numbers of feet cut. It literally would not stand up to any scrutiny under the scientific method because there's too many variables, and those variables are not being accounted for in everyone's tests.
Right, but
what are the variables?
That's what we have. That's why you do lots of them. That's why you do a lot of them.
I'm not saying that there's something you can do to improve it. You can't.
Right, you just do a lot of them.
Human things, right? Exactly. Doing a lot and then getting an average, that would be an actual measurable way to figure it out. Because just saying how many feet can it cut, all you're doing is getting an answer to that point to one part of the control.
And one knife.
It has a lot of variables. You literally, correct. You would
name the variables.
Okay, so the variables are human error in the form of pressure, human error in the form of how
But that's not what we're controlling for. I just told you we want variables and pressure because who we're solving this for is for the average user on an average day using it. So controlling pressure would be it would make the test illegitimate.
Yeah, we're all going to be different.
Correct, but still, when you're running something up to, what I'm saying is not running it to the answer to the average person. What I'm saying is running it to the scrutiny of not only identifying the variables but controlling them. So when you have when you're running a proper scientific method, you're supposed to not only identify variables but find a way to control them so that they.
We did. So the variables that are controllable are the edge angle and the edge finish in the sharpening process.
I agree that those things make sense because every human is different. But what I'm saying is then to take that variable and actually control it, you need to run one test with multiple people with their individual examples. Having just Jared do it does not represent.
Well, I'm not the only one who does it.
I know. I'm saying, like, if you're the one making the video and saying, here's my test, you're only seeing the test.
Obviously, I can't have tons of people.
It does not represent a larger group of people. What I don't like is when these tests are saying, here's the answer for everyone. No, it's not.
No, yeah, nobody tries to do that. Nobody says that. Everybody says that this is just my test.
These are my results.
These are my results, right? They might not reflect what you're going to get.
It's not a test. It's your result. That's what I'm saying.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Using the word test is a little bit.
Hey, Kara.
You're trying to destroy my channel.
No, Kara. You do understand that Laren's cut tests are not peer reviewed, right? In his book, in a published book.
I know. Right. None of this stuff is peer reviewed. That's what I'm saying.
So you're saying Dr. Laren Thomas's tests are invalid?
I didn't say they're invalid. No. Listen very clearly. Getting a result to something doesn't make the result an invalid result. What I am specifically saying is that these tests are not standing up to the scientific method. That's very different, right? Those things require very specific steps. I know for a fucking fact, Jared is not sitting in here and nobody's sitting here going, I'm going to observe the problem. I'm going to state the problem. I'm going to form a hypothesis that only has to do with said problem. Half of the time, these hypotheses are running multiple statistics into one thing, which really you should be
such as.
That's exactly what I'm doing, by the way.
Such
as.
Exactly.
Such as when you're doing these tests for multiple feet, right? I would think you'd get more results based on separate variables that would tell more of an answer if you did a cut test that provided one that was just about the feet. Okay, that's one hypothesis. How many feet does this knife cut? The next hypothesis would be based off, okay, because you're talking about, right, like HRC, let's say the angle of the edge, right? Okay, does this knife now cut the same amount of feet if this variable, say, having Jared sharpen it versus factory edge, right?
We've done that. I've done that.
We already know. We already know that.
But you're not testing it, okay? But when
I've done that. Yeah, I have.
We have tested
it. Okay, I'm not saying you haven't. I'm saying that in general, if we're speaking on everyone who does these tests, it means that some people miss here and some people miss there. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the
right. And what we're saying is that everybody does them, right? And you can kind of compare results. That's all you can do. And you just do the best you can and get the best results you can, or worst results.
The only best result that you guys could get is if you actually were taking your results as a whole, putting them into a database and actually getting.
We did.
What I'm saying is
we did.
Okay, so that's good. Cool. What I'm saying is that the test as an individual, if I'm a random person on the internet and I look up a test, the fact of the matter is let's be really real. Most people watching these tests are not going, oh, this was an individual test with a lot of variables. And
just so you know, Laren Thomas
done
tons of tests. They have catcher tests. Wait, hold on a second. They have catcher tests.
I don't care about Laren Thomas. I'm talking about a YouTuber.
Shut up for a second. Just let me finish. There's his tests, right? So we already have like what he's already done, right? And those have been controlled as much as they can. Like we were just talking about, like their burr removal might not be the best, but either way, like that's been like a standard test, a standardized test between all steels. Now we have tons of people in the community also doing their own tests, right, to the best of their ability and comparing to.
I didn't say it wasn't to the best of ability. What I'm saying
so
is that
it's all we can do.
Stating, in my opinion, most people aren't running like for instance, like when you do a test, right, like I know you've tried to get better cardboard, but in the past a lot of times the cardboard was random fucking cardboard. Okay, you can state all you want, this is a variable, here's the cardboard, blah blah blah, but running the test that way
I use the same cardboard every time.
No, I'm talking about Jared running tests with not
I do buy
cardboard.
the same cardboard.
Now you do.
Yeah, just because I've done a couple tests without it, but I've done tons of tests with the same.
Personal right now. I'm not saying.
And actually, every time I did a test, I did it on the same cardboard.
I'm not saying you haven't improved. I've held the cardboard for you. I know it was different. I'm saying.
I did the exact. No, I never did cardboard. I literally used the same boxes, the same box actually, and cut pieces out of that. That's the only reason why they were different. They're only different because they were the same box. Like it was a giant box, and I cut 1 foot squares out of a massive box.
I know when we've done older.
So that's the only time that it wasn't. That's the only time that it wasn't prepackaged bought pieces.
I know that in older videos we've just taken stacks out of the pile, and you've even said this cardboard's too different. Blah 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 blah. And I'm just from that.
Yeah, but that wasn't a test like that I used.
Kara, you do understand like cardboard they all come from like 2 plants in America.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's doubled up and has glue in the middle. That's not the same thing. And
that's an accepted variable in a test. Just like that's like saying that on a CATRA testing that the card stock has a variance.
Up the scientific scrutiny though. Just saying I accept this variable.
All right, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm going back talking to Steve. We're done talking about this. Anyway,
just comes through and she's like, "Fuck your tests." All right, Kara, fine.
Thank you, brother.
Fuck our tests.
Thank you. I know. Thank you, brother.
Acknowledging that there's a lot of things that when you're watching it that you just have to understand. I'm not saying the tests are invalid. I'm not saying no one should do the test. What I'm saying is the viewer should be understanding that when they're watching.
They are. We've said this a million times. We've literally stated these things thousands of times in tons of videos. Everybody has said it. Not one person has ever made a cut test and not said that. Yeah, we've already said that. We've already said that. We've always said that.
I'm just saying it.
Okay, so then there's nothing else left to say.
I know that.
Christopher, we take the variables and do the best of our ability. We try to take them out, you know. Christopher, thank you for the 5 bones. Let me see if there's anybody else really quick. But anyways, about the burr removal, like I know I've done like when I did some cut tests like a while back, you know, and I probably wasn't doing like the best burr removal because like I can even watch some of my early videos, like my burr removal process is 1,000 times better than it was 4 years ago.
Fuck yeah.
And I know like the edge retention that like I'm able to get is much better because of it. And I can watch myself and I can see that I'm doing things that now I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously everybody's going to get better, but that's why now like I try to say the things that I'm doing so that, you know, other people can't, because I know if other people spent as long as I did sharpening, they're going to come to the same conclusion.
Yes.
You know, like deburr like this. Christopher, thank you. Another 5 bones. Hell yeah. Here's another 5 for the good debate. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate it.
No, that's part of it. No, that's part of it. Yeah, it's gonna happen. What do you say?
He says you try giving her ice cream. That works sometimes.
100% ice cream. Ice cream always works.
But anyways, yeah, fucking. I got a bunch of tests coming up, and I plan on doing what I. And I know this is not a really good test. Trust me, I know it. And I've been so critical over this test, but I have one of the best sharpness testers, so I want to do where I check the edge sharpness, do the cut test, check the how dull it got, you know, for how many feet, and, you know, add that in there. Now, I don't want to use that as any sort of like real statement because they're so inaccurate. Like I have to do multiple cuts and then it's still just an average. Even in the multiple cuts, and listen, I try to go as slow as possible and my numbers vary widely.
Yeah.
I see people online, when I see them getting certain numbers, I know for a fact they're improperly using the system. Like it's just a fact. I can see it. Like it's not even like that I'm debating the numbers. I can see that they're using it wrong because it's all about speed. If you go any sort of fast, like say if I just go a little bit faster than the last time, my number will be lower no matter what. It's all
that makes sense. Yeah, you put more pressure behind it.
Right. So there's no way really to say that you know, there is like a standard number or like that your number is this. I mean, if you do it a bunch of times, you can kind of get an average. So it's an average, but it's still not the best test. And that's why I made a video the one time telling people, like, don't trust this thing.
You're the first person I've ever heard talk about that.
Bullshit.
You're the first person I've heard talk about that, because when the best tester came out, everyone was like, "Oh shit, we can measure sharpness," and all of a sudden you were like, "Actually, guess what I found out? If I move my hand quicker, I could drop this number by like 30 fucking points."
Right.
And it was like
more like you can literally take a number like where it would be like 200 and get 75 easily.
Damn.
Easily. I mean, like easily. All because like, and I watch people, like I watch this fucking one guy, man, and he drives me nuts. I've literally made like 30 comments in his videos. He's a fucking con artist, and he's making these videos and he's doing these sharpening things and then doing the cut test on the sharpness tester, and he's going as fast as you can go, and his numbers are just absolute lies, like 100%. And people are watching this thinking this is his numbers, and he is a sharpener. He runs a sharpening business.
That's why he's doing it. Okay. Yeah, he's fucking whipping people. He's just like, I can make your knife do this.
Exactly.
All you gotta do is send me that knife, baby boy.
Right, and some money. Transparent Knives says, here's a fun topic. People saying HRC doesn't matter at all because of microstructure is everything without knowing any aspect of what microstructure is. You want to explain that? What microstructure is?
Microstructure is just like what it sounds like. It's when you look like the actual makeup of the steel. So if you were to look at it under a micro, like you remember when you were in school and you looked at like a cell, like that's the microstructure of a cell. That's what you're looking at. So depending on the steel, it's composed of, ferrite, which is iron, carbon, and whatever other alloying elements are in there. Me and Brian were talking one time on a live, and he said the same thing I say to people all the time. They'll say that, they'll go, it's not I'm not worried about a Rockwell hardness. I'm worried about a good heat treat or a good microstructure. And a good heat treat is just not fucking shit up. Like, especially with like these PMs, people don't realize, especially with like PM steels, like all you're trying to do is not fuck it up. Like the difference between like, if like 100% is like the greatest heat treat on earth, as long as you follow like the protocol, and you have like, some basic knowledge, you're going to hit like 85%. And then like, if you really get in the weeds and you're like a nerd about it, like Brian or me, you're going to get to like 95. And then if you're like Roman, then you hit 100%, because then you're just the almighty god of everything that is related to metallurgy and heat treat. And you have salt baths and all this fucking crazy shit.
What is the big problem with production companies getting not just consistent, but really good heat treatments with higher HRC? Why can't they make that happen? Why is it nearly impossible for them?
Speed. It's all speed. Speed of the quench, speed to temper. It's all speed. So again, it's just like cooking. Everything has to do with heat treating is time and temperature, and time being a big part of it. So to give a good example, if you take a piece of S30V, and its austenitizing temperature, the temperature that you need to reach for it to get hard, right, is, or maybe that's not a good idea. Here's a better idea. Let's take 01 carbon steel, right? If you take 01 and you heat it up to 1550 and you plunge it in oil and you drop the temperature to under 800 degrees in about 2 seconds, it'll get hard. If you take that same exact one and bring it up to 1550 and you let it sit in the air, it'll be soft. It'll just be normalized. It'll be completely soft.
It didn't cool fast enough.
Yeah, it has to cool. So everything, that's a good example. So everything has to be, it's with speed. So all the blades that we see on production knives are stainless. Stainless steel's air hardened. But how fast, it's just like any other steel, how fast they air harden has a huge, that's really where when you talk about microstructure and stuff like that, that's where a lot, during that quenching process of taking it from its austenitizing temperature to its to where it needs to be, is a lot of things happen. How much retained austenitite you get happens during that process, and how hard the steel is going to get is during that process. So like a lot of people think I'm crazy because I oil quench all my stainless steel. Okay. And I do that. And now this is why all my blades warp and I have to spend an hour straightening them. But it gives me the fastest quench, and that helps reduce retained austenite. And I do other things like cryo to remove that. And it gives the best structure, the tightest structure of the steel. There's less time for things to, I'm setting things up quicker, right? From point A to point B.
Less time for error, basically.
Kind of, yeah. I'm kind of like, I don't want to like geek out and make everybody think I'm a fucking weirdo, but that's what happens. So speed is everything. So in how they heat treat in these commercial settings is it's done with pressure, with pressurized air or gas. Mm-hmm. So they get put in these big vats and they clamp them all together. So they hopefully don't warp. They heat the whole thing up to whatever it is, say 22,000 degrees. And then what they do is they, depending on the place, some of it's just gas, some of it's done on, some of it's depending on the speed. Some is 5 psi, and some are done in what they call, you'll see like a 5-bar quench or a 2-bar quench. What that means is the amount of pressure from the gas being blown on these to cool them down. So the faster you, so it's just like that. So now you can imagine if you have 50 blades clamped together at 2,000 degrees, how long that would take, depending on what facility they're using and depending on the capability. If they can't, especially with stainless steels, if you don't cool them quick enough, then their hardness, it's not like a carbon steel. If you take 80 CRV2 and you heat it to 1550 and you drop it in oil, it's going to hit 66 out of the quench every time. And then you temper down from there. Stainless steels, if it takes you 3 minutes to quench it, like AEBL, let's say, if it took you 2 minutes to quench AEBL, it's going to be like 58. If you oil quench it, it'll be like 62. So there's a huge difference in that starting, that what's called as quenched hardness out of the quench, depending on how fast they can do it. So and then they have to temper from there.
If a production company is doing hundreds of steels and they are wanting to obviously get the best heat treatment possible, but they can't do them obviously as fast as somebody doing 5 knives, right? So when they are going to quench, that little bit of time difference or big time difference between each one, because like obviously, you know, the 10th one's going to take slower than the first one, right? That's the reason why they can't get to higher hardnesses. That like basically what it is.
Well, not even the 10th
to quench it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even like the 10th to the first one, because they're usually like clamped together in stacks. So they're all getting hit at the same time. It's just how long it takes. So like to do like that type of quench in mass like that, you got to have a tremendous amount of gas or air hitting that much. Because you got to remember, picture 20 blades bound together that are all 2,000 degrees. It's going to take a long time and a lot of pressure. Yeah. So if the facility only has like a 1-bar capability wherever you go to heat treat, because they're used to doing, you know, car parts, then it's going to take 7 minutes for that stack to cool down. If you go to a place that's prepared for it and they've got like a 7-bar quench, they can quench that fucking thing in 30 seconds and give you the range that they want. This is why there's a lot of heat treaters in the country. Like I think Texas heat treaters is one, Phoenix is another, where they will tell you what they can get it at. They'll be like, that's what they'll go. This is why a lot of knife makers sell steels, because a lot of custom knife makers that you know send their stuff out to get heat treated. A lot of them do. Yeah. So then the company goes, ABL is 58, because that's the best they can do. So then the knife maker comes to us and goes, you want 58 Rockwell ABL for toughness.
Right, that's what you want. Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to tell people how gaslight we've all been. So the limitations of the maker, then they gaslight you and market it to you so you'll accept it, not the other way around.
For sure.
Because they don't want to do it themselves. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. I get it. It's hard to make money selling knives, but
Brian says, Lishowitz had a good video on a related subject. Chilled water cool plates need to be given time to get cold, or some blades won't be quenched as quickly. I chill all my plates in the refrigerator.
See, I'd actually love to see Brian. I want to challenge Brian on that. I'd love to see him do that, because to me, I will never consume Jello. I hate the texture. I think that's not true. I think that when you take a 2200 degree piece of steel and your plates are 30 degrees, I think that it takes that steel about a fraction of a second to knock that 32 degrees right off, versus room temperature or 100 degrees. Or I think the time frame between a chilled plate that's 32 degrees and one that's even 200 degrees, the effect on hardness, I'd imagine doesn't even make a difference. I imagine it would, especially if you're using compressed air, I'd imagine it's nil. I see a lot of guys use chilled plates because when they're doing batches, the aluminum heats up.
Yeah.
But I don't, because here's the thing, when you're heat treating a steel and you're quenching it, you're not racing to room temperature. You're racing to usually like, it could be 700-800 degrees. And once it's the speed in which it goes from 2000 to 800 that matters the most. And then from there down, this is how the quench oils you see guys use. Yeah, that's how they're actually designed. So what makes a quench oil is it has certain additives in it that prevent cavitation, which means air bubbles from it boiling, and what it does is it unlike like water, if you dunk it in water, it cools it all really, really fast. When you drop it in these oils, that's why there's different speed oils. What it does is it brings it down from, let's say, 1500 degrees to that 800, and then it slows it the other 800 degrees. So it prevents a lot of stress and cracking. So the critical point, you'll see, I've seen knife makers that do carbon steels, they'll quench the blade, and the second they can pull it out of the oil, they'll like, this is for instance why you can take any blade. You can quench it down to, let's say, 600 degrees, and then you can go put it, you can bend it. So you can go put it in a clamp and straighten it and let it come to about. I think once it dips, once it dips under 300 degrees, then it's set. But you have a range between. And here's the thing: like you'll see this on carbon steels, or you can do this on a stainless steel. Let's say you oil quench it, right, and you pull it out and it's 800 degrees. You can go put it in a vise and take a file and scrape it, and you'll be cutting into the steel. And as time goes on, it'll get harder and harder and harder. And you can watch it. You can actually feel it happening right underneath the file.
Hey guys, had a native 5 salt on order for 2 months and still not in stock. Any thoughts? MagnaCut not available.
Did you get it from Knife Center? I bet you got it from Knife Center.
It's my Blade HQ too, because both. So what they did was, I don't know what the information was when they got, you know, the ability to put up a pre-order and all that stuff, but whatever the information was probably wasn't accurate because it's been up there for months. I even pre-ordered some last year and I'm still waiting too. I don't know why. I have no idea. I don't have inside information on, you know, that shit. When I've asked them, they just said when they get it. So they probably are just limited on information too. They were probably told that they could do a pre-order and then things took longer. And I heard like this was a couple years ago, something like this happened and they came back and said, I'm not saying this has happened now, but this was before, that they had everything going smoothly and something wound up getting messed up like in the parts and they had to redo all the parts. So it wound up taking like twice as long. I don't know if that's what happened this time, but it seems like something's going on because like even like the mini Yojimbo, I fucking held that thing at last year's Blade show. Like, so, and they still have not like really dropped it. Like you've got pre-orders, but you can't buy them yet.
I'm wondering if so how those companies work is like, depending on the size of your operation, they get X amount, you'll get X amount you can buy from Spyderco or whatever. Like you're allotted, like, you know, Blade HQ probably gets whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
I would imagine knife sales are slowing down because economy, because election year kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine everyone, if I had to guess, either Blade HQ, somebody's trying to get a better number on how many they want to buy because they don't want stuff sitting on the shelves. I'd imagine they're taking pre-orders and then submitting the order.
Cutting Board Reviews says, in my younger days, I built a fixture that would measure the warp in a blade that comes out of the furnace and then correct it using a graduated crank.
That's dope.
Oh, yeah.
I just beat it with a hammer. Like a caveman.
Parky vids are still up. Look at the one posted by because Brian bought a detective Lamia. Then so, I think he was talking earlier about the thing with Brian and him. Transparent Eyes posted a videos on Instagram a little while back, providing receipts and providing his points. Then it all boiled down to a live where they both clarified everything and agreed. Yeah, no, I think sometimes it's good to have a good discussion, you know, like, and that's what like Steve was trying to do with the Survive guy. He was trying to get him to come on live and discuss.
I'm gonna get him on this live.
Right there, when you avoid that shit, that to me tells me everything I need to know, basically, you know.
Because it's easy to make a video.
What's that?
It's easy to make a video. It's a one-sided conversation. I can say whatever I want.
Right. It's another thing when the person scrutinizes the information that's coming out of your mouth. You know,
exactly.
It's not like you could say that, like, oh, this guy is just, you know, like, is just going to say a bunch of ridiculous shit and gun for me, and it's going to be pointless. Well, no, because actually you wouldn't be scared of that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? What you're going to be scared of is the scrutiny that's going to be legit. Right? Nobody fears somebody looking stupid on the other side just talking shit to you. Right? They fear the information being wrong, and that's why they won't show up.
That's why he keeps saying, he's like, he sent people, he's like, oh, that Steve guy, he lost me when he said he's only made 100 Magna Cut blades. We've done thousands. Well, hold on. You've done thousands. You've done thousands. So either, well, so hold on. So I know for a fact, again, he doesn't, I hope he sees this. I know a lot more than he thinks I know. So that first order that you're bitching about was about 700 blades. Well, he gives different numbers on his videos, but it's about 700 blades, right? So you said thousands. So that means you've either sold Magna Cut before that batch or after that batch. And you didn't have the same issue.
Right.
So just, you were the magic guy that got the 700 blades that had issues.
Right.
That you got that. And let's also, I want everyone to remember this. And if people ask him this, I've seen it in the comments. Chris Reeve knives, they put out between 2,000 and 3,000 Magna Cut fucking Sabenzas and Nkosis and whatnot a month.
Holy shit.
A month. And they have a 6 fucking year backlog. They put out 2,000 to 3,000 blades a month. If you're going to tell me that there's gaps and voids and warping and decarb issues, don't you think they would have seen that somewhere? You think they would be throwing away 20% of their blades because they warp too bad or have decarb? Or do you think, does Guy think that, and he'll tell you this because he's been to Chris Reeve's shop, and he'll tell you that his tolerances on his fixed blades are better than the folders they make over at Chris Reeve Nuts.
That makes a lot of sense.
Do we, which is funny because Tim's response is, at least I deliver knives. So he's like, at least he goes, I have a 6 year backlog. You haven't given someone a knife in 6 years. You know.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, man. That's the thing is that has anybody else had this issue? Like any other company? That we've
no. There was one other company. You ever seen Montana Knife Company? They're relatively new.
I don't think so. No.
Mike Glover is a good friend with that guy. It's like a tactical military thing. I know they had an issue, but they sent the blade straight from water jet to heat treat, which had the mill scale on them and caused them to warp to high hell. Okay. Now he'll talk about Larsky, and whatever it is. The guys that do not Bark River, Bradford knives. Okay. And he says those guys are the heat treaters they use or something like that. They expect a 20% loss on Magna Cut due to warping. Again, I want everyone to understand warping is 100% fixable and part of the process. Right. What Guy needs to say is, I don't have the time to fix any potential warp, so the steel's not for me. I'm going to stick to stuff like 3V, 4V, things that have a much lower warp rate. This is one of the reasons why you don't ever see SE or any of these bushcraft guys using ABL, which would be the greatest fucking bushcraft steel the world's ever known for the application that they use it for. Because ABL, Nitro V, and 14C28, those type steels have a high propensity to warp. They warp like a banana. It's just the nature of the steel. So they don't want to do that.
So that's the real reason, is just because they don't want to deal with the warping.
I would bet my life on it. It's cost, because if I promise you an EC4, I promise you that the steel on that knife cost them less than $3.
Damn.
Less than $3. Wow. And the handle cost them maybe $1. The amount of money they have into those steel, this is why they'll replace them if you break them. They're they almost make them for free.
Right.
Like 1095 is so dirt cheap, it's insane. It's insane. Yeah. It's basically a throwaway steel. It's not even like it's that cheap. You know, now any custom guys, don't get mad at me. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about these production guys who buy it by the Tops and these guys who buy it by the metric ton, and get it for fucking, they'll get a 4-foot sheet of it. Well, no, they get to buy the 5-foot sheet, and that 5-foot sheet probably costs them $60.
Damn.
And they'll pop.
That affordable.
They'll pop. If you buy stuff by the sheet, it gets real affordable. To get it plus, and then if you get stuff water, most places that do water or laser jet, they charge by the hour, not by the piece. Huh. So for them, if I bring them 1 sheet of steel, it's $200. If they can run 8 sheets of steel in an hour, it's $200 for 8 sheets of steel. 8 sheets of steel.
Okay.
So exactly. So most of these places, all these places that do heat treating, that do laser jetting and stuff. These guys do industry work. The knife things is like this much. They basically do it as a courtesy. It's like such tiny little stuff. They do big, these are all like, they work for like big industrial plants and they cut steel for stuff like that.
Right.
So they have so when you say, hey, I need, 10 5x5 sheets of steel cut, they're like, cool, it'll take us 15 minutes. Like they're used to doing like really big, heavy, thick gauge type stuff. So they'll cut it in no time. So if you take, if it costs them $60 for that sheet of steel and $200 to cut 10 of them in an hour, and they get, I don't know, 60 pieces on a sheet, do the math.
Who do you think is the leading heat treating company right now in the USA as far as big company?
It would be Peters. Peters has the best reputation. Yeah, Peters. They have the most ability. They have the best ability, and they're the most consistent.
Brian says, if you believe what you are saying, you'll go on the live. Example, when Whitty invited me on his live about Hinder or Alex, I went live about our disagreements. You might regret it after, but hey, yeah, it's sometimes, it's kind of good to, because if you believe what you're saying, it's one thing like, if you wind up in a disagreement or whatever, but as long as you believe what you're saying, and you're going in there genuine, then you're not really going to have an issue with it. The problem is when you don't feel like you're being genuine, because I see me personally, like if I'm wrong about something, I'll just fucking say it. Like, oh shit, you're right. I'm wrong. I fucked up. I gave wrong information. I'm sorry.
I learned something.
It's easy for me to do that.
It's a whole. This is why Guy confuses me because he's like balding. I don't know. He's got to be like 40 or something like that. Which I'm laughing. I'm fucking damn near pushing 40. But it's like he acts like one of these like 20-year-old kids where like being wrong is like a fucking cardinal sin.
Right.
like to me and you, it was like the only reason I know anything is because I've been wrong more than everyone. Like I used to have like young cooks come up to me and they're like, how the fuck do you make scallop? You do 100 scallops a night. They're all perfect. And I'm like, you want to know the secret? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I fucked up 1,000 of them.
Yeah. Fuck up.
The difference between me and you is I fucked up way more than you have. Yep. So get to fucking up. So you can get.
Even with sharpening, people are like, oh, I want to get as good as you. And it's like, yeah, but you don't see the big box of fucking knives I destroyed.
Like it's funny because people will say to me, they're like, Steve, you got really good really quick with knife making. And the reason if I don't think so particularly, but if you think that's true, it's because I knew when I got into this, I'm like, okay, the first 100 of these are gonna fucking suck dick. I gotta get to 100 as fast as I can. So I just started making knives because I know they're gonna suck. I know I'm gonna be horrible. Yeah. I know I have to get 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 in my belt before they start to look decent. Yep. So I got to fucking up. It's time. Like I'm gonna spend the next 2 months fucking up every single fucking day.
And you're like, wow, you thing even about this channel, like when I started doing videos, that's literally the account I said. My channel hasn't started until I have 100 videos. Because it's going to take that just for me to fucking learn anything about YouTube because I honestly didn't know anything at all. And now if I go back, like I cringe watching any of my older videos. Because oh shit, But hey, man, it's the process, right?
It's so fun. That's how I found your channel. Like that's why I started following your channel. I'll tell you why. This is gonna be funny. I started following your channel because when I first saw one of your videos, you were so fucking dry and nervous behind that camera, and you reminded me of me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, good. Like Kara used to be in the videos, and she was like way more like natural to it than you were. Yeah. And I'm like, this dude is. Yeah, I'm like, this dude is just like me. I'm like, click. I'm like, I got this guy. Either he's gonna flounder or he's gonna flourish. One of the two.
You don't want to fuck up and give because it lives forever.
Yeah.
So you're like, I don't want to give wrong information. So the worst thing I could have done was not been accurate. And so if I didn't know something, I didn't want to say it because I knew somebody could call me out and then I would have to stand on it, which is fine. But if I don't say it, then I don't have to stand on it, So
yeah, well, especially in the beginning, you're trying to build a reputation. Yeah. So it's like now, if you make a mistake, you're like, oh, fuck that one up, and it's way easier. But when you first started, you're like trying to establish yourself as like, I'm not a retard. So you don't want to fuck shit up. So you're like, and not to mention talking to a fucking camera is awkward as fuck when you first do it. It's so weird. You're like sitting here, you're like wife's over there, and you're like, God, I look like such a fucking chode right now. I'm here talking to this camera like a prima donna. It's so awkward.
Standing in the room watching.
Yeah, it's awkward as fuck. You're like, you're sitting there. You're like, if my dad saw me right now, he'd be so fucking disappointed in me. You're like, what is wrong with me?
Those videos where like it shows like say like somebody else filming like a TikTok and how ridiculous
it looks.
Like
yes,
on the camera doing this dance shit. It's like this is what they look like, guys. This is
what they look like. Yeah. You see the edited video? This is what they look like. They look like a retard having a spasm on the side of a sidewalk.
Right.
You're like, that guy's crazy. It's hard when you do it. Yeah, when I saw your video, you reminded me of me. I was like, oh, bro, I know how bad this is. I'm like, this is the hard part. I'm like, you'll get over it eventually. Yeah. But at least I didn't have Kara, who's like a fucking ham. She just is a friend. She's like, hey guys.
Benefit for sure.
No. What I mean is, for me, it would have been more difficult because it's like she's all like easy with it and like natty with it
because people are going to be watching.
No, I meant like it was me. I'm the idiot in front of the camera. I didn't have somebody who was just like a fish to water and was like, hey guys, and I'm just sitting here trying to like remember what the fuck I wanted to say.
Ed says, fact, every video where Brian has shared the screen with someone else is some of the best entertainment out there, including the Blade Play podcast and debate with USA Made Blades and Alex from CPK Knives.
That's why I like Brian. Like, me and Brian have disagreed a bunch, but like Brian has no problem standing on what the fuck he's saying.
Well, right, and man, when you're really trying to get to the truth, you're okay with like being kind of wrong because you're both trying to get to the truth, right? So
yeah, exactly.
It's okay for us to disagree or try to figure it out, and both parties should be understanding about that. Like, there's no like thing like if you were wrong, I don't feel some type of way because you were wrong. I've been wrong times too. Like, it's just the way it fucking goes. So
it's
you know,
I don't know if it's because we like I guess we're old school now, right? Like, you grew up where like you just had arguments with people all the time, so it's just normal. Like to me, this is just because we live in different parts of the country. It's no different. So if like when I have an argument with Brian, like let's go live and talk about this so we can fucking hash it out. Because like you said, if you're both just trying to find the truth, and it doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong, you found the truth,
right? Yeah,
we got to we both
now
won.
We have the information that we both
we won. We got to what our objective is.
But if you're not genuine about that part, that's where it becomes tough, you know, and that's where you don't want to be seen losing. Losing, right? You're not really losing, but you know, in your mind, and like you said, that's very narcissistic behavior, you know, when you're considering that a loss, right? Because you should be looking at it as a gain. Do you know what I mean? There's
it's 100% a gain. If you have, everyone's got opinions. If you have opinions or beliefs or whatever it is on, right? The reason you form that belief is because you think it's true. So if somebody comes and challenges it, you're like, all right, let's hear it. And then if they make a good point, you're like, well, motherfucker, that's a good point. Now I'm smarter. Yeah. I don't look like an idiot anymore. I'm smarter. Thank you.
Now you can start using that information. You know?
Yeah. Unless you're a guy.
It does help you too, I think. Because nobody's perfect, right? Everybody's going to be wrong. So if you can come forth and say, I was wrong about this, this person was right, that helps you so much in the future because people are going to be more they're going to trust you a little more because they're going to know if he was wrong, he would just say it, you know? But if you never do that, never do that.
You mean like Guy of Survive Knives? He's never wrong. His production delays are never his fucking fault. They're everyone else's.
Eric says, thank you so much for saying that. For myself, being a perfectionist, I always see all my mistakes first, and it can be very demotivational to try to actually take the time to get good at things. Yeah, you're gonna
the only way.
You're a perfectionist. I mean, that is the one. I mean, it's good for you, right? It can be good for you, but that's gonna make you take a lot longer. Like sometimes, like I remember I was working with my stepfather building an addition to a house, and he is an absolute perfectionist, right? And I was a carpenter, so there was things like I know, like nobody's seeing this, man. We're fucking covering this shit up.
Exactly.
And I do this shit every day. It doesn't matter. Trust me.
Right? There's OSHA and then there's the real world.
Right. And I'm sitting there banging it out, and he's so meticulous. Now, don't get me wrong. He's really good. That's the thing. Really fucking good. But to his demise, because I'm looking at it like this is going to take us 6 weeks. Could have took us 1 day, you know, it could have taken us 1 or 2 days. This thing's going to take us 6 fucking weeks like this. But you know, hey, you know.
I had a guy, he was much older than me. I was an executive sous chef. He was like 60. He had gone to the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, which is like the culinary school, like one of the biggest in the world. It's in New York. And but he was just a wild ass drug addict guy. He just kind of pissed it all away. And one day, and keep again, drug addict guy, right? He's out his mind half the time. And one day I was like fucking scrambling and like, you know, inside like losing my shit trying to get this catering out. And out of nowhere, he just goes, "Chef, sometimes you got to know what good enough is," and then walks away. And I'll never fucking forget it because I was like, "Damn, Ed, those mushrooms really fucking put something in your head, huh?" And he was right, because you can't let perfection get in the way of progress. That's the saying, right? And a lot of people, like knife makers, are the worst, bro. There's probably 100,000 knife makers in this country, and none of them will ever sell more than 10 knives in their lives, because they'll spend fucking 6 months fucking making one, because they redo it and redo this and then throw this away and do this. And it's like, wow, man, how have you sold so many knives? Because I kept making them. You know, it's like to me, if you're going to sell a product, you know you're not going to make it perfect, right? And you get to a point where you're like, well, that looks good, but it's not perfect. Well, then you price it accordingly.
Exactly.
Right? You're like,
I that too, you know, and I love that about him. Like, it gives people the opportunity that don't give a fuck, right? To his, because their standards aren't as high as his. His standards are up here, and they're like, I don't give a shit about that. I'll pay less money for that.
You sit there. I tell people, I'm like, you start out and you're like, this is whatever you get, $80, whatever you think you could sell it for, offer it to somebody. And then that's how you go. And then at least you get money to then like supply the next, at least make the hobby become break even, right? Then you can start getting better, at least if it pays for itself. Right. But it's like, no, of course this knife isn't perfect. So just charge accordingly. You're going to make somebody happy. You're going to be happy you sold X. Like if you were a carpenter and you're making furniture, you know, you're not going to start out selling $3,000 pieces of furniture. Like even if you were that good, you're still not going to start off selling $3,000 pieces of furniture. Even if the craftsmanship's here, you don't have a name.
Right. Yeah, you're going to be sitting on products. I wasted more steel than I sold for years because I would try to get better next time. Yeah, because you also do progress. That's the thing, is you do get better. So the thing you did, say 6 months ago or even a month ago, right, is not as good as what you are doing now. So now your standards go up. So now you start not liking the standards you had before. But that's normal though, and it's good. It's actually a good thing, you know.
Dude, when I get in knives for like sometimes I'll be a repair and it'll be from like a year ago. I'll get it and I'll look at the handle, because the handles are where I came like I did a lot of working on, and I'm like, fuck this fucking hand. So I got to call the guy and be like, hey man, do you mind if I fix this handle? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't like it. They're like, sure, I guess. Because you look at it, you're like, fuck, I could do so much better now.
Yeah.
You know, then like you look back and you're like, well, I sold it for $100, so I guess I'd be happy. Like, that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I'm still redoing the handle. I'm like, fuck this thing. I'm not sending it back looking like a block.
Yeah. Yeah, but dude, and that's a huge thing to swallow too, because, you know, like you just said, you know, it could be something where it's like you sold it for this much, but technically your time was more than that. But the product, it's so important for the product to be, you know, to your standards, that it's okay if you take a loss sometimes. Sometimes it's just the name of the game, right? I got to take a loss on this to ensure that I don't put out a shitty product.
Of course.
Especially when it's your own hands doing it, right? Like, it's one thing when it's another company doing it and it's, you know, an OEM thing, you know, it is on them. But when it's your own hands and your own standards and everything, you know, it's definitely good to know that I'm not putting shitty products out there. And I've heard a couple knife makers say, you know, like when they put some stuff out there, they're like, well, I know I didn't do that. Like when something like gets messed up on it, like because my standards are entirely way too high to allow that to go. Like even like Brian, right? Like he showed things on like some blades like that he was selling for cheaper because something was wrong with it. And I'm fucking looking at it like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Brian, dude, Brian's like,
find the thing I'm analyzing. Brian, what is he talking about?
This is literally me this will be me on my phone when I come to one of Brian's posts about like, this will be this, oh, fuck off. And then I fucking scream back because it'll be Brian selling a fucking reblade because it's like 0.2 fucking points under hardness. And I'm like, this fucking guy. And I'm like, I can't even look at this fucking guy. Or it'll be like, he'll bead blast the fucking blade, and there was like 120 grit scratch that kind of, if you look at it in the right light, you squint real hard, you can see it. And he's like $200 off.
And 1 second.
Yes, Brian. Yep, you have to make money. Yep, exactly.
I have to go.
Okay. Uh-oh.